welcome everybody to ISA Presents For the Love of Horror with Luchagore Productions. We have Gigi Saul Guerrero and Raynor Shima with us, and we are I'm so excited to chat with you both. I reached out because I watched Bingo Hell, and I was just like, wait, what? And then I looked you guys up, and I was like, oh my God, I have to meet you because you're my people, and two, I was really excited about, after researching you guys, like learning about who you are and your vision and how you guys work together and how you write and create and really go there. I mean, you really went there. And I've seen a couple other things too, and you go there, and I was like, holy crap, I love it. So a couple things from ISA, guys. We will be replaying this conversation on our pro tips page. So probably on early next week, we'll have it up. And we also have a great pitch panel event coming up on November 18th. So go to our events page and sign up for that. And also, last but not least, follow us on social. We are across the board at Network ISA. Okay, so let's get started. I will have you guys just give me a little introduction of yourselves. Tell us about yourselves.
Gigi's forcing me to do it.
Hey, listen, I'm just so used to ladies first. I'm like,
I know, that's what I was trying.
Go ahead, producer.
Gigi's like, no.
Equal opportunity, go.
Well, again, thank you so much for having us here. It is, such a blessing to be here and talk a little bit about us and filmmaking in general. But, my name is Raynor Shima. So I'm a producer and co-founder at Luchagore Productions with Gigi, my lovely partner here, who, sometimes we can't stand each other and sometimes we tolerate each other. I don't know how it works, but we really seem to make it work for the most part. And I'm from Vancouver, Canada, BC. Born and raised, and always had this passion for filmmaking and wanting to tell stories. And short and sweet version of it all was I ended up going to film school and meeting Gigi at a rival film school. She was actually acting on one of our final projects, and we kind of bonded there of like, who are you kind of situation. And you like horror? I was like, I like horror. She's like, I'm making a project and for her final project at her school, and the kind of rest is history, and now we're stuck with each other. And no, but we honestly, that's how we kind of started in that nutshell. But we just kept building short films and making short films after short films until we gradually kept, growing our name and our brand. And Gigi as a director as well, just perfecting ourselves and what we created, and writing our own stuff until we could finally get people on board that we could end up paying to write and work with and create and develop. So it's been a fun, interesting journey. For sure, on my end. So
I love it. No, it's true. So I'm Gigi Saul Guerrero from Mexico. That's why my name's so exotic and long. But yeah, so I moved to Canada here, and that's where I went to the rival film school of Raynor's, and we actually became the official first team in our city of the two schools together. These schools definitely make fun of each other, definitely are very competitive. And how I brought Raynor into my school is because nobody at my school wanted to make horror projects. It was just myself and my best friend, who was the cinematographer in all our shorts. We were the only two making blood and gore and crazy stuff, but nobody in our school wanted to be part of those. And I said to my friend, well, I just made friends with the other school. We could sneak them in. And we did. We totally broke the rules. And we got in a lot of trouble that we snuck in all these students that didn't go to that school. But it's actually funny story because I ended up graduating with excellence in filmmaking, little piece of paper, because our short was very good. And it was because we snuck everybody in. But so we, as Raynor said, we co-founded the company Luchagore Productions, which is the office we're in right now. You can see a few little posters. And so we've made about 17 short films.
No, more than that now. We're almost like 20.
18. We're almost there.
20 short films.
Between 17 and 20, a lot of them. And we became, one of the first filmmakers for Crypt TV. When they were starting out, we were the official filmmakers. So we were making a lot of viral content. From there, we started making commercials for the haunted houses here in Vancouver. From there, we made our short film that's definitely our most popular one, called El Gigante. It did huge in the festival circuit, and that's where my career really took off, where I found my agents and manager at a film festival. And from there, the rest is history. Directed now for Blumhouse, 2 features, and the Purge TV show. And we're excited because we're like, all right, this is a chance for Luchagore to like go for it.
Before that, though,
Totally.
El Gigante actually got us our first big gig was La Quinceañera with Warner Brothers, Stage 13. That was kind of like
our first bigger
push through of like,
project.
Let's do this. And oh my God, it was a guinea pig test for us all. But
yeah, and it's definitely one of those projects that, they never came to light. You put so much effort. This business is very tough, and we definitely experienced it right away, where you put all your love and effort into something and it never gets out of the shelf. So for us to experience that at such a young age, for studios as big as Warner Brothers and Stage 13, we learned a lot.
Oh yeah.
And we've been able to now really put all of those learning experiences into what we do now. And now I teach directing at his film school. I've been great in high school, and I love, giving the students a lot of the experiences that we went through, so they hopefully, can not go through the same thing, but know how to take it. And
have their own. Yep.
Raynor and I experienced it all. Some of the people here maybe already know. We booked our first theatrical film at the beginning of 2020 for MGM. It was going to be our first big movie called 1031 with Eli Roth and MGM. And it got shut down, which we're actually like, thank you, Jesus. Because COVID kind of took over. But that was the first experience for Raynor and I early in our careers to know, wow, when things are not in your control, you cannot, in this business, you cannot let this bring you down, make you quit. We're artists, and I'm sure a lot of people on this panel here with us are artists too, and we take things to heart. So we've gone through it, my friends. So we're here to help.
I love that. I mean, I think one of the things that I really admire about both of you is that, I think a lot of times us as screenwriters or, sort of beginner filmmakers, we think, okay, we'll do one short and then we'll go on to features, right? Or that one short is going to be the thing that gets us to that next level. And just hearing that you guys kept doing short films for the love of making the film, that's what you have to do, because it doesn't necessarily mean that first one is going to be the thing, but you keep going and you keep growing and learning.
100%. And with what you're saying, for some people it takes one short film.
Sure.
And it's pretty awesome.
Right.
For us, it took 17.
We were like at the 12th mark before.
The 14th.
Yeah, and then we went back though. I mean,
but you keep making them because
we actually made one last year because we didn't get the big movie. We actually teamed up with Crypt TV
after so many
years, and they grew their name, and they're amazing for what their content gravitates towards online. And they were just like, let's do something together, and we did it.
Let's
and
make
it was
it
like,
short again.
For us, we're like, yeah. And I think making short films is a great tool for everybody, writers, directors, like anybody that's wanting to perfect their practice their craft and write unique stories. I mean, short films, they're not easy to make in a way. I mean, like, especially when you want to write in the concept, you really have to like tell a story within a certain amount of time, but it's got to reflect to the audience and all that. And I mean, it's the world's your oyster when it comes to it, but again, everything's subjective in a way that people are gonna like it or they're not gonna like it. But for us, it was just like keep
but if it's memorable, which is what you guys certainly have, is memorable. I will never get. I'm gonna butcher the name. I call it El Gigante because I'm such a white girl. El Gigante. But if you guys have not seen that, oh my God.
It's actually going to be coming back out on Shudder, part of an anthology.
Oh, good.
So it used to be on Shudder for the last couple of years, but it's coming back on Shudder.
Awesome. All right, well, remember that, everybody. Watch that. So just going backwards a little bit,
Yes.
when you guys first met each other and you were at rival schools, what was it besides, you know, both loving horror? What was it? Because a lot of times we have writers and filmmakers who are trying to find those collaborators, those people that are their people. How did you guys know that you were each other's people? Like, what was it? Was there a moment, or was there anything that kind of made you go, this is my person, and we're like, this is it?
I think, yeah. So after right when I helped Gigi and Luke finish their final project, it was like a short little teaser trailer they wanted to make for a web series after they finished their school year. And they wanted to continue this after they finished, right? So like they were going to shoot that and then get into production on like this choose your victim style web series, like choose your own adventure, but it was like choose your own victim. And they wanted to shoot it. And like after we shot this trailer, Gigi was like, "Do you want to be our producer for this?" And I was like,
You were a very good.
Is that how she said it?
Well,
You
yeah,
want to be
yeah.
our producer?
Yeah,
He only
I
came to the set to help
Set
as
dressing.
a set dresser.
because they already had a producer on
But
it.
he, what, you know, to answer your question, both Luke and I were like, "Oh, that guy's good." He seems really smart for what we're asking him to do, because Raynor was finding all these set pieces to decorate the set for next to nothing, for free, and a lot of it he was building right there. We're like, okay, this guy's got something up his sleeve. And you know, when we asked him, like, do you like set decking, or what do you, and he's like, I'm actually into producing, but what would you like to produce? And like, you know, regardless of how this story goes to be, for me, my experience, really nobody wanted to work on my projects. Everybody was all about the comedies and the dramas, which is cool, but we really were the only two students making horror and making blood and deaths at the school. And when I met him, he was so into that, and people at his school were so into it that it was really easy to grab their school. And when we made that Choose Your Victim project, I still had one more year of school to go to get my degree. And that short film, you know, we brought them in again, and we just kept bringing back the people from his school that just wanted to make cool stuff, which is what you said earlier.
Yeah.
We wanted, when you work with people because they want to create, that's exactly why I gravitated to finding the bestest friend I have, even though
we spent a whole summer.
Yeah.
We literally spent a whole summer doing this Choose Your Victim web series, because we thought at that time, that was like early 2012. We're like, oh my God, we're gonna be like this YouTube viral like series, right? Because that was kind of like the thing, a little mini web series. And we did it. You know, we self-financed it. You know, we were all working jobs, and we were just putting all our money to it, and we were writing it because we had about 2 weeks, a week to write and a week to shoot, edit, and then release, and then rinse and repeat for 4 months. 3 months it was, sorry. And I was like, after that, I was like, we still like work together, and we were like, you know what, we should kind of create a company, because you know we survived this. And that was kind of like for me too. I mean, Gigi's saying otherwise, but that's I was like, oh yeah, we survived 3 months together, like with no money, making a film, and we brought people on board. Actors were coming, they were just having a good time. And one thing that we cared about was just like treating our cast and our crew like family, just like everybody's equal, in the sense that, like, you know, you're respecting everybody's time, especially when you're coming out making short films, and nobody's doing it for money, but they're doing it for, you know, wanting to work with the director or just the team, and that they're having fun on set. Because that's the biggest thing, is that like, you want the job to be fun, and you want to appreciate that everybody's coming here to work with you and create something together. That's how we kind of always kind of had this like golden rule of like, you know, treating everybody as they like to be treated, but just treat them with the utmost respect, that like, you know, their time is so important to be here, and we appreciate it, and that we value their opinions, and we encourage them to be creative with it, right? Not like micromanaging in that sense, because I just don't think that's the right way to work. And it can be like that for some people, but we just, you know, that's how we've always operated. To be very open-minded with everybody, and encouraging, you know, their own creative input. So.
And how Raynor said, the word really spread in our city about our team before we became Luchagore. People are like, oh, these these students, these kids are doing
yeah.
really cool shorts. And a lot of actors, some people that are in some big shows today really wanted to just make cool stuff with us. And what I meant earlier, that we were making a lot of viral content, we really were just making fun shorts. And it was easy to suddenly, you know, our agent, our tool was YouTube, was Facebook, on how our shorts were being seen. That was our platform. And so it was social media. And from there, you know, even though I was still in school, Raynor, being the great producer he is, he was finding for us local competitions, online competitions, such as ABCs of Death 2, which we ended up getting in, local competitions that we were always losing. We were always getting third place, second place.
Because we were the only horror.
And we were always this horror team that was the only movie in the competition. This happened a few times, that went viral online, but we were always losing the competition. But what we did was, you know, if you can't beat them, grab them. Like we just to all the winners, you know, like, your makeup artist is awesome, we'd love to meet them, or your visual effects artist is awesome, we'd love to meet them. And by the time we made the short film El Gigante on my last year of school, because we had access to the school, which will tell you that funny story in a moment, we basically, for that team, had all the elite out of film school people to make El Gigante. We had the makeup artist that we met on this competition. We had the costume designer that just...
You guys, that's so smart. That's so smart.
Everyone. And every competition that maybe we won second place, and any of the little ones we won, we never split the money with everyone. We always put it towards the next project, to the point where, you know, even by learning all the failures of our web series of Choose Your Victim, we learned how to make the El Gigante campaign a huge Kickstarter success. And we got double the amount that we asked for.
Yeah, no,
so it really, you know, when they say, like, learn from your mistakes, it really is a thing. And so, you know, thanks to that short, it looks so polished still after 7 years that we made it out of film school, that, you know, we really used by practicing till we're here now.
I think the web series really taught us how to shoot fast, write efficiently. I mean, sometimes you can't write the best gold in that short amount of time, but it taught us how to be quick on our feet of like what we can shoot and how we can write this to work to the location, because everything was always trying to find out where we're going to shoot next, right? So it was like we were always writing for that location. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but I mean, it really taught us how to, you know, be savvy with what, you know, we need to acquire for props, all this stuff, clothing, blood, lots of blood. And it just, it taught us to be really efficient and think quick on our feet.
Yeah.
And that for us, you know, really worked, right? We were able to do things that may have cost a crap ton of money, you know, if you had to go some rentals, but we were doing them for like next to nothing and finding alternatives to make it work, right? And that was a really cool experience to think that like we did all that stuff with like literally no money. And you know, it gives us this little bit of edge on our style, but you know, it worked for what we like to do, right? So
and if you're wondering how did we get people to keep working for free, the most important thing we promised was
good food.
Good food. My parents were always crafty and catering, and people were like, are your parents cooking? I'm in.
Yeah.
Literally, people. This is how we kept, like, in one of our short films, it was during Thanksgiving weekend, and my parents made them the most beautiful turkey dinner. And, you know, we've really, really spread, you know, this atmosphere of family that we can still make shorts even after now doing these features. We really can go back and get great people on our teams because we always treated them with so much respect, and we promised them always, you know what, something big is coming, I got your back next time. And I think this is the type of industry you really have to keep that in mind. You have to appreciate
the ones that you've worked with from the beginning. I mean, sometimes you can't get everybody on board because of bigger stuff and they're non-union or union, you know, it's harder, but you always try to bring as many as you can. I mean, it's really hard to convince studios sometimes to say yes to it, but I mean, like, as long as you're trying, I think that's the most important thing, because you gotta think, you know, it's a team effort, right? Everybody that's been a part of it that helped you get there too, right? That's how I was brought up, was to like always, you know, care for the people that, you know, are there for you as well. And it's like, if you can pay it forward back and try to get them in, we always try to do that. I mean, we shot our last movie in New Orleans, so it was kind of hard to bring anybody over, but you know, we're trying to hope to get more productions in Vancouver so we can work with some of our
people,
team, all of them if we could. But that's one of our biggest things, is like,
I love that,
taking care of them as much as we can at the same time. So I think we've tried to stay as true to that as much as we possibly can. That's controllable for us.
So reel them in with food. Okay, so a big question that I want to ask you guys is, what is your why? So you guys do gory, sometimes disturbing, really creative. And what is your why? Like, why horror? Why are you going to that place of like guts and slime and blood and all of it, like really going for it?
You know, for me, I grew up in a really Catholic, really Mexican house. Like, you walk in our house now and there's like Jesus and Virgin Mary all over.
Oh my God.
It's a very superstitious house. Like, you meet my grandma and my mom, you put your purse on the floor, the devil's going to get your money. Like, everything is the devil. So you know, my first experience with a horror movie, I rebelled against my mom. I stole this VHS.
Clearly.
I very much watched a movie I was not supposed to behind her back. It was Child's Play 2. And what really gets me today, from very much inspired from that first time I saw a movie, I love that horror movies, especially all movies, but horror in specific, can follow you home. There's this story that you watch, and it has such a big presence here with you that you can't help but feel it, whether you think Linda Blair is right behind you under the bed, or you turn on the water and you're scared because you just watched Jaws, or in the wall you just saw arachnophobia. Like, a film that can follow you home is the coolest feeling for me. I love that so much. So if I really can, in a room full of an audience, gross people out, make people close their eyes, get the horror fans like us to going, yeah,
right,
and then people like my parents, you know, having the nervous laughter. Only horror can do that, where an audience that's full, you get all the reactions in one. And to me, that's to me the why. I love hearing people go, you know, especially El Gigante, you know, for those listening, there's a scene that the mask is sewn to the guy's neck. And is one of those things that we tested it a few times of how much should we show? And it's such a quick moment of sound design and the visual of that you can hear the stretch of the skin. That's still today, I think, the thing of anything we've shot that makes people go.
I don't think anybody was expecting that.
I just
that was
love it. So my why.
Yeah, and you didn't know if you were gonna go there and pull it all, like you were like, oh, yeah.
So that's my why, and I love that a movie can follow you home. Yeah,
I love that.
Gigi. No, I think for me, my why in horror movies and why I love making movies, I love telling stories. You know, I've been, since a young kid, you know, my dad showed me Alien, and then Aliens back to back. It scared the living crap out of me. And from then I was just like, oh my God, I love movies, right? I think that was like in the 80s. That's when I saw that. And I was like, oh my God, like I want to do that. And then just, I've always watched horror films, you know, but I've always watched like, you know, dramas, comedies. And it was just like, what kind of storytelling do I want to be in? What do I want to be involved in? And then, you know, as film school kind of came around, it was like, you know, horror, but nobody was doing horror in my school. But then Gigi brought it in, and I was like, yeah, like, I think what we can do with Gigi, you know, because she has this, you know, Latin background and all this Mexican culture that we haven't really seen per se, being kind of infused with horror so much. Obviously, it's kind of exploded now, but back then it was like, kind of infusing it with some of the stuff that we didn't really generally get. And I was like, this is why we want to make movies right now, because we're onto something that people aren't doing. I was like, I'd love to be a part of that with Gigi and support it, and infuse these kind of together, like what's it, Tex-Mex, what we call it, Tex-Mex horror, grindhouse horror.
Nice.
And that was kind of one of the things. And you know, besides that, it was just like, I think what, you know, people don't, you know, again, I think people are always subjective to like what they like and what they don't, but everything that we've tried to do is try to be engaging for everybody as much as we can, and you know, telling these unique storylines of things that you generally wouldn't see.
Right.
That's what we wanted to do, and that's what I love to do, is, you know, give the weird and different. And you know, yeah, Gigi loves the gore a lot, and I'm like, we've kind of toned down a little bit. I mean, Bingo Hell wasn't as bad, but
you know,
it was very slimy.
Yeah,
slimy, yeah.
Well,
I'm sorry, but this part when she was like pulling, I was like, oh my god. We'll get into Bingo Hell, but yeah.
In Bingo Hell, we really we were constrained to go far, and we were asked to not go gory, not go too crazy, not far. So we're like, well, I guess slime and blood is not gore. So yeah, we really tried to come up like what, because it was such a specific slate for that film of what we were able to do, that you know, we came to a funny conversation in one of the death scenes. I think you know which one, a death scene that has a lot of blood spraying on the actor. And we had this conversation with the execs at Blumhouse. They were like, it's too gory. And I'm like, actually, the word gore in the dictionary means that you see guts and the inside, it's not blood. So I think we're okay. And it was a conversation of what is gore and what is not.
It was like a real legit conversation. Like, okay, listen.
That we were able to keep it because I on purpose shot it just bloody, just blood.
Yeah, it was just bloody.
Let's just put blood, because we're not allowed gore.
Right. That's so funny.
You know, the execs were like, it's too gory. I'm like, actually, there's not a single moment of flesh in this scene.
That's so funny.
We're able to keep things. Yeah.
I'm gonna get to Bingo Hell, but I want to stay at the beginning a little bit. When you guys come up with an idea, and what is your process in terms of, you know, coming up with your idea? What's your writing process like? Then developing, like, what? Just talk a little bit about, you know, soup to nuts from the beginning of an idea to making it happen.
Easy one, start.
No, go for it.
I mean, yeah, I guess one example we could talk about is Bingo. Really?
Okay, great.
Yeah, so Bingo Hell, this is what, a year and a half ago? What is that? I think it's about a year and a half ago. We literally pitched a 3-sentence concept, which was Bingo Hell. I mean, I can't even remember what the sentences were, but it was something about, like, I think it was like teenagers at the time, right, Gigi? It was like a group of teenagers help defend the Bingo Hell that gets taken over. Mysterious things start happening. And Amazon, Blumhouse really liked it. And we were like, are you kidding me? And they're like, we want to go with this. Obviously, let's talk some more. But
like, wait, did you just say yes?
Yeah. Well, we work with another writer, Shane McKenzie, who's been a longtime partner. We should have brought him up earlier, but Shane is like the writer of El Gigante as well. But, you know, a lot of collaboration between Gigi and Shane. We do in all of our stuff. So when we had come up with this concept, it was just like, okay, they like the concept, and we all kind of sat down like, how are we gonna shape this 3-sentence into a whole feature idea, right? Like, how are we gonna pull this out? And basically what ended up happening, Gigi, we've talked like tons and tons. Like, they give us a month to kind of like come back to them with like an idea of like more fleshed out. But it was just like us shooting back and forth. We always like to communicate. We call it this trio communication. So one of us will get shot down, and if 2 other people agree, it's always kind of like this like back and forth, like, oh yeah, I like this.
We're a very honest team with each other, and
We're very upfront.
Part of our process, and again, a lot of it has been remote because our writer is in Austin.
He's in Austin, Texas.
We just all get on the phone. We're not even in the same room, just so we don't look at each other
like now.
Right. So we don't even like to be in the same room, but we all get on the phone and we say, okay, what do you guys think of this idea? And we love hearing from the other two.
We bounce back and forth.
And a lot of the times it's Shane and I convincing Raynor. Raynor right away goes, I don't know if we can afford it. But which is helpful because that technical side of Raynor really helps us crazy ones tone things down. And, the process with Bingo Hell, and the process in all of our projects has been just, let's come up with a sentence long. Like you told us earlier, the lunch ladies, and that's just one sentence long. What is interesting? Sometimes in our process, I'll find a song from a score to a movie or a song from anywhere. And I like to play it for Raynor and be like, this would be awesome score, wouldn't it? And just kind of start building one scene out of everything. And from there, if we can come up with a couple sentences that is really interesting, check mark. Or if we come up with one scene that fits this song and it's super fun, check mark. And we like to build it from there. And we've been lucky enough that this process of just kind of coming up with the smallest thing has allowed us as a team brainstorm from that small thing. Sometimes, I feel
movie inspirations too, for sure. Bingo Hell. I mean, I have to say, not Goonies. Batteries Not Included. Gigi always references Rob Zombie's. Oh my God, which one was it?
Rob Zombie?
Yeah.
I was just saying Rob Zombie universe.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah, she wanted like this blend. So Amblin feel to it as well. And I mean, with Bingo Hell was like, Gigi actually brought up the point where like it was teenagers, but like, why don't we take this as the elderly? Who do we not see in this limelight? And Gigi was like, what about the elders, the old people that play bingo? Why don't we focus on them? And it's like the leader of this group, this community is, really hard strong, been through the shit. And she's noticing her places, basically her whole community is being torn from under her after this mysterious man comes in and takes over their beloved bingo hall. And we kind of have these like little points of like how this was kind of developing into that. But it was like, originally that's how it started, was a bunch of
Do you guys have fear about changing from teenagers to the elderly? Because it seems like somebody would be like, oh yeah, probably go teenager. But how did you sort of push?
It was, a lot of it was inspired by my grandma, who's obsessed with bingo, and same with Shane, our writer's mother-in-law, who goes to bingo religiously. And we were just like, what would happen if you took bingo away from them? Oh, all hell is gonna break loose.
Right.
And we were like, that's really cool. And, we kind of told ourselves, what was the last horror movie that had elderly as the heroes of a bloody, gory movie? We really could not point one out.
Yeah,
it's been a long time. Cocoon, Batteries Not Included. It's been a long time. So when we said that to the studio, they were a little hesitant, and because let's be honest, a lot of the genre movies get driven by young couple, kids, teenagers, one woman, and that's okay, and they're really good. But also, I think the biggest fear that we fought was COVID. The studio was terrified of having old people on the set. And this was, this process of bingo was not easy because we kept changing the script.
We had to rewrite the script
for a
so
whole
many times.
10 months to fit COVID.
Right.
And we went 10 months. It's not going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. It's not going to happen. Oh, it's going to happen. And every time it was stripping and stripping and stripping away everything of the script, to the point where, we were getting really concerned. And I remember getting a phone call saying, you can't have old people as the heroes of this.
Well, no, they said, what if they were 40-year-olds?
What if they're 40-year-old actors playing old?
Right.
And
I'll play
I said,
bingo.
you guys are 40. Do you play bingo? And everyone on the phone was quiet. No, we felt like exactly. And you know, it was one of those situations we were trying to make fit of a script that we were feeling a little down about it. Maybe this is not going to happen because of how much we have to fit in. Also, you know, this happens to anybody, even on indie projects, that maybe you lose a location and you got to rework it. And in our case, we couldn't have an interior bingo hall because COVID wouldn't allow more than 8 people in one room. So our bingo hall was going to take place at a courtyard, a basketball court. That doesn't exist.
Right.
And so, you know, went for a while that the movie wasn't going to happen until finally the opportunity came first thing in January this year. Let's do it. Let's fix the script. Looks like sets kind of have it figured out. So we made it as small as possible and came up with the ideas of what about a gentrified town? Reason for them to be less people there. And it all kind of, everything happens for a reason. But it's nice to have a process that there's 3 of us that can really bounce off each other.
Supporting each other.
And support each other. That's
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I bet that process of rewriting over and over and over, when you have that initial big idea in your head to keep making it smaller and changing, that, I mean, for writers, that's incredibly frustrating. And you have to kill a lot of darlings in that process, which is to us, you know, like a knife.
And that's a big learning thing for the rest of your career is learning what battles to pick.
Yep.
You know, even battles that you're going to face all the time. So in this lower budget feature of Bingo Hell, I really wanted a crane. I wanted a techno crane so bad. They're like, Gigi, we just can't afford it. And I was like, well, why don't we just not have credits in the movie? And we're the only Blumhouse film that didn't have any credits. You know, they do beautiful credits at the beginning and you see your name and it's all to music. I'm like, fuck it. Everything's going to be at the end. We're just going to do rolling credits. And you sure? Yeah. and it's those kind of compromises you're gonna have to creatively think about it for the rest of your career. You know, so it worked out. It got the technical crane and didn't worry about credits.
Shane, our writer partner here, he always does like the first initial phase. He'll like do the vomit draft, and then we'll come in and we'll like. Because he's never really, if he's married to something, he'll say something. It's like, why did you guys take that out? And then we'll have the discussion. Or if we're like, we're going to take this out, we'll discuss first. But Shane will do like the big layout of everything. And then we'll come in and we'll finesse and hone. Say, we can do this, we can't do this. What about this? And like restructuring. And then we take a stab and then we send it back. And then we just kind of keep repeating this back and forth until, you know, we're all happy. And
it takes a lot of trust.
It does, for sure does. And that's the thing, we've been working together.
We much rather break each other's hearts than someone else.
It's usually Gigi and me. Shane never gets into the arguments. It's Gigi and me.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things though that, you just, you know, again, this is, you know, a couple of writers, Gigi and Shane working together and then me kind of coming in and giving my creative input. But it's, you know, if you're doing it by yourself, you always have to be prepared to, you know, if you get you hear the news or be able to adapt and change if productions or the producers want this and that, is be open to it. You know, sometimes ideas, they can present the most ridiculous ideas and, you know, have a good reason to say no to it. And usually they'll understand, but it's never like, no, I'm not going to change this, right? You know, they want to see people they want to collaborate with, but there's got to be this give and take for sure. And
right. How do you guys handle really bad notes? Like a really bad note that you know.
We gang up.
Yeah, we gang up.
No, you know, I can definitely say it's very much what Raynor said. You need to have a reason back why. And I lost quite a few battles that I had reasons and I showed them. And then, you know, it would come back to me still no, but at least I tried. A lot of it is learning. Okay, and you can bring it up. All right. Sure, I'll do what you said, but remember the other thing? I think I'll keep that instead.
Right.
Pick your battles, and sometimes what we like to do, we like to make them think that our idea was theirs.
Sure.
That's probably the best advice I can give. That sometimes, you know, they have a really bad note and you play the mind trick of like, oh, but that kind of contradicts what you told me, that great idea you said last time. Remember you said, hey, they didn't say, you, that was so smart. How, like, I really want to do what you said. Oh yeah, yeah. You know, so sometimes playing that game works.
Sure.
Sometimes they catch on me, but
They're like, no.
it's very much a compromise. You have to learn, and
Sure.
you really, at the end of the day, everyone's goal, no matter how big the project is or small, everyone's goal is to make a good movie. Everyone's goal is to make a good project. So sometimes you got to really put in your shoes of everyone else telling you the same note, or maybe it's a note within a note.
Sure.
It's true what Raynor said. You can't just straight up say no, 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 no. It's very easy to build a reputation in this industry that is negative, that is you're hard to work with. So really taking that time to reflect on everything is quite worth it. And we're lucky that I have somebody, you know, best friend that I very much trust will call on my shit and he on mine, that, you know, that's what makes a good producer and director relationship, that you can have each other's back and tell each other the truth. You know what, Gigi, they're right. I think that scene needs to get deleted. It's not moving the story forward. Or I tell Raynor, I really need help with this note because because XYZ, and he will go ahead and help. And so it really, you know, it's interesting. I did a panel yesterday for AFM about a director and producer relationship, which is so important that a lot of people don't quite understand it. And we talked a lot about that, where how to manage notes and how does your producer come into play. And a lot of it is that trust that you just brought up of, I should listen. And I've been in a situation where I didn't have Raynor as my producer. I had people I didn't know. And you really have to put yourself in everyone's shoes for just a split of a second to just try and think like, where is everybody coming from? It's worth it to not rush into anything.
So when you guys were starting out and I think I read something in an interview, the way that let me rewind. Talk a little bit about your relationship with Blumhouse and how you first met them. What I'm trying to get at is we do a lot of generals. We do a lot of pitch meetings. So I love that story about how you had something to talk about in your general with Blumhouse that sort of like led to the next thing.
You know, we were, as a team, Luchagore, we were having a lot of trouble here in Vancouver moving from shorts to features. We were getting turned down by Telefilm. I was getting turned down by agents here. And we had a lot of short films. Like I'm talking like at that point in 2018, I was like, man, like, why can't we move forward? Too. And we had that web series with Warner Brothers. I was like, I feel like I have 2 features.
Right.
It's giving us a chance. And I took that risk. I told Raynor, I'm not leaving our team. I just feel I need to go to LA. And we didn't have Zoom at the time.
Yeah.
It was definitely that situation for a filmmaker where you need to be in LA if you want to make it. If you want to meet studios and do generals, like you said, there's no such thing as Zoom. You got to be here in person.
Right.
I left. I told Raynor, I will be back. I promise. And that was really risky because we went a long time from making shorts, so many shorts a year.
I came down with you.
And well,
remember I came down with that.
No. It was when I stayed at Eli's.
I went for the first. That's when you shot, but when you first met Blumhouse, we all came together. Remember?
That's true. But we just kind of, but we just all kind of separated and did our thing.
In her brain, it was a solo mission of like, let's do this.
And so basically, you know, when I came back to LA after we tried it together, I came back. This was very recent into having a manager and an agent. And, you know, they were like, Gigi, you got to start with generals.
Mhm.
Even though I was literally sleeping over at so many different friends' couches, because I was like, I need a place to stay, please. And the first meeting that I really had that was just a general, and with Raynor was there, was with Blumhouse, but it really was just to meet them.
Sure.
And a lot of this business, to everyone listening, really is right time, right place.
Mhm.
Yep.
Even though it was just a general, they happened to be looking for a Latin director to direct their border crossing story. And Raynor and I were like, we have a border crossing short. Like, what is that?
Right.
So by the time I came back alone, I really pushed. Those guys need a Mexican director. Can I please see them again? Can I please see them again? Okay, sure. They weren't interested because I didn't have a feature, but our short films really caught their attention. El Gigante really caught their attention.
Oh, it works so well.
So it was just such a right time, right place situation that
Right.
even though I had to pitch 4 times for the project, it was worth it. And I learned a lot from the mistakes I did in my pitching, why I just wasn't getting it right away. That relationship with Blumhouse really came to fruition when they trusted to give me the job for the movie Culture Shock, which you can all see on Hulu.
Mhm.
And even though I couldn't bring anybody from my team in that film, it was still so worth having a trust from the studio, very different from our experience with the web series that never came out. First thing they said was, what else you got? Well, how about this idea? So it's a lot of building that trust, building that reputation that will just keep.
And Culture Shock did really well, that they were like,
Yeah,
it's like the best one for the Into the Dark series.
oh, well,
I think
thank you, Raynor.
I think it's rated number 1.
It still is, yeah.
Which is
it
awesome.
Still is. It's super
for your
cool.
first one. It was
But
I
amazing.
haven't seen that. I'm gonna go watch it.
Oh, definitely on Hulu.
I'll be right back.
Culture Shock. And definitely that movie really exploded and did really well, and still 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, it feels really nice to have had that trust, and I came so fresh from making so many short films that working with such a small budget as that one, it was easy for me to just jump right in and let's go for it. 16 days to shoot, 2 weeks to prep, no worries, let's go.
I remember Jen calling me and telling me, I don't know if I can do this. And I was like, well, what's so bad about it? She's like, we only got 16 days. And I'm like, what's any different than what we shot normally? She's like, right. I was like, I can't do this. And I was like,
shut up, I hate you, bye.
Yeah.
But I remember I was like, no, I'm like.
So it's really nice to have the horror house of Blumhouse support me and support the idea of Luchagore and continue collaborating. But
how much time was it between that first general and, let's say, when they actually really sort of let you?
It was pretty quick. It was
because you came in June and then you were shooting again in January.
Yeah.
Months,
So a couple months. So definitely when we first met them at a general, they needed somebody
to direct now.
So that's when I took the risk to fly back, go back. Let's just try. And it really was a learning experience of what I was doing wrong with my pitching. And
talk about that. Will you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. I went into the pitch at Blumhouse, and this was my mistake. I went in desperate. I went in hungry, and that's not the right approach. I really think, sure, it's good to be competitive. Sure, why not? But you got to go in passionate. And I was not going in like that. I was going in like, check out my PowerPoint. This is the way it's going to look. Blah, blah. Like, I was very desperate into just showing the skill. And they asked me a second time, as there was something about me, maybe it was my shorts or my personality, I really don't know, my hair. There was something about me that they kept calling me back. And the second time they called me to pitch again, I did the same thing. And by the third time, it was a phone call. When I had flown back to Canada, we got to talk to her again. And I was like, I remember calling Raynor like, I don't know what to do different here. I'm just telling them the same thing. I even remember I get mentored a lot. Good friend Eli Roth. He's really been a good friend to us and to me especially. And
just a little mentor, just a little guy over there.
And I even remember telling him, like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong, man. And I remember him and my agents both said, well, have you been honest? And that really hit me hard. Have I been honest? Well, of course. That's how I want to shoot it. No, honest about the story, about the script, about your approach. I was like, no, I have not. And I'll be honest here, I really wasn't a big fan of the script. I went in lying.
Sure.
This is what we're going to do. I went in very much as a yes person, and you'll find studios that they just want yes people.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. But I went in as a yes person. Yeah. But never was I honest that it was missing that Mexican touch, you could say. And by the fourth pitch, in person, I flew back to LA. And also there was a Halloween party I couldn't miss. But I went back and I went with such a different approach to this script. I went in with a sheet printed out, double-sided, very legally blonde. It was scented in pink. Just kidding. But I went with this sheet and I just said to them, I know you guys have heard me say the same thing, but actually here I want to type in, I typed for you guys the changes I would want to do to this. It's almost a page one rewrite, but there is such a cool concept to this movie that I think we got something special here. I'd love to work with the writers to make this work and make it as authentic as possible. And I think, the thing is that if you don't like something in a script, give them a solution. Don't just say, I don't like that part.
Right.
Give them a solution, be passionate about it. And I just broke that script down to the T. And I brought so much of that authenticity and diversity and passion. And the movie is about border crisis of what's still unfortunately happening now. And I was like, this is my responsibility as a filmmaker to talk about this. This is my way of bringing awareness to the world right now. That's what did it. And I really learned from that mistake. They never had to call me back. I was like, they never had to call me back, but they did. And
did you know you nailed it when you left, or were you still like, oh God, did I do it right? Or
it was a very Black Swan moment, Natalie Portman moment, where when I was done, they said, well, you got the job.
Oh,
I remember I was
like the dream, right?
I was so shocked. I'm like, thank you very much. But I just like Black Swan, I was like, where is your bathroom? Thank you very much. I went to the bathroom, called my mom, I got the part. Like just but it was super cool. I was like, that's what did it. And now I put so much of that in every pitch from the very beginning. Everybody knows where I'm coming from the story. And I mean, Raynor's been telling me this always, story. And it's easy to get desperate in this business. It's easy to feel like I need something now. Right. And you got to give yourself more credit sometimes. And at the end of the day, it's the story that really matters. And it's the story you have to be in love with as a filmmaker.
Right.
And even when you're writing too, like you really have to love it. And sometimes, like I said, sometimes the writing might not be as strong, and somebody like Gigi comes in and it's like, I know how to enhance this. I'm bringing, her perspective, her influence for her culture into it that was missing, right? So, I mean, that's where you can find that really good collaborating team to come in and hammer it down and create what is one of the best Into the Dark episodes. So.
Yeah, if anyone's interested, definitely check it out on Hulu. It's still being talked about today, the film. So it definitely was a really cool opportunity, but in a great learning opportunity.
Right. Yeah. The other thing before I kind of get into what you guys are doing now, what excites you about the future, are you getting phone calls like crazy? Will you guys talk a little bit, Gigi, specifically about being a female director, a female storyteller, you know, there's a lot going on out there on social media and in the media about a lack of female directors, and where are the female directors? And it's like right here. Did you have a tough time, you know, one, navigating being a female director, and two, being in a genre of horror that, you know, it's a lot of male energy in horror. So how do you navigate that? How did you navigate that? How do you navigate that? And do you feel like you have to, or had to, overcompensate a little bit, or like be more gory and more, like, you know what I mean? Did you have to overdo it a little bit sometimes to sort of get attention?
That's a great question. I will start off that I feel really lucky to be a filmmaker today, because we're finally opening our arms to diversity, to authenticity, to voices of all shapes and colors and languages. You know, I did go through a lot of crap trying to get here, but I'm excited that we are in the right path. Still a long ways to go, but I feel very happy that right now is a great time to tell the stories you want to tell. Anybody listening here that is a filmmaker, right now, tell the stories that represent you, who you are, because right now it's when people want to see that. And as I said before, we made so many short films that, man, I was like, why are we getting turned down everywhere? We even got a few times like, do you have anything more Canadian? We got a lot of that here.
Well, you pitched at Fantasia too.
Yeah, and it just was really hard. I was like, I think it's because I'm a chick. Like, I was so convinced, and I even was like, I think it's because our stuff's in Spanish. We were really trying to figure out, what is it? Our stuff is quality. Like, you know, I'm not trying to be cocky or anything, but we felt pretty confident. And I felt, you know, there's only a couple agents that represent directors, only two. So now you know who. There's only a couple agents here in Vancouver that represent directors. I just was not getting in, and there's a lot of work here in Vancouver, and I felt that something was off. But definitely, again, right time, right place. It was a lot of hard work to get that directing job. It took like 16 short films, and that's okay. One thing Raynor can definitely say that I am is stubborn. And I was like, no. He goes, yeah. We're gonna keep making shorts the way we want to make them. Gory, fun, Latino. Like, we were just so focused on building that brand of Luchagore that I'm so happy we did. And I'm happy Raynor encouraged me to stick to who I am. And one thing I was finding a lot on, and we would talk about this all the time, you know, we would see a lot of these communities of that were awesome to build the awareness of female filmmakers, especially women in genre.
You've taken part of
and I was really enjoying taking part of women in horror, film festivals like Etheria. I really felt that what I needed to do was to be part of these communities, to encourage and find the other girls. I was like, where are they? And so that was really important. But one thing, you know, I noticed a lot, especially through social media, and we would always talk about this, was I felt there was too much bitching going on. And maybe that's a reason why we also don't get hired. And I never wanted to complain. I should be proud of the cards I have to give. Female, young, minority, those are great cards. And those are cards I need to just show off, not be afraid of. So I wanted to approach film not as a disadvantage of who I am and what I represent and what I see myself as, but as an advantage, because that's going to make me work harder. So I always wanted to be like, well, guys, I have it way harder, so I got to really kill it, you know? So it kept encouraging me to go hard, go hard, go hard. And that's a great way to approach things. See the advantage in everything. So now, I went through a lot of, I'll tell you a couple stories that, you know, these authenticity things are still a problem today. It hasn't gone away, but we need to be so true to ourselves. You know, with culture shock, that feature is half in Spanish, half in English. There's no surprise into the script, as it was always like that. But when it came to the network cut, it was a very serious conversation that this movie should be mostly in English. Gigi, could you take out all the Spanish? Like, it really, I was like, this comes a month. What are you talking about? Well, unfortunately, our audience doesn't like to read subtitles. So could you, and I'm like, that's 50% of the film. I gave you guys exactly what I shot. I gave you exactly what was written and discussed. And, you know, I think, you know, it was one of those very intense conversations where I had to really fight and really say, the Academy Award just went to Korean film Parasite.
Right.
The reason your audience does not read subtitles is because we're not giving them subtitles. We're not giving them enough. And I brought a lot of that card, and it was one of those situations where I was like, this is exactly why I'm not happy to be a filmmaker. You know, just really, really be passionate. And there come certain moments where, like you asked earlier, what are the notes that you have to be okay with? It's okay to not be okay with some. Mm-hmm. And that was one that you know, it was hard.
That was stripping everything though.
It's when you guys watch the movie, you're gonna be like, it doesn't work.
Right.
You know? And so, you know, I'm so happy to, you know, I see one of the comments
here, Squid Games. No one can use, that's true.
Let's look at all these amazing movies. We're encouraging authenticity now. That's why I'm so excited to really, you know, I'm sure I might be pigeonholed now as, oh, she only does Latino stuff. It's because now people will watch Latino stuff. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. So you need to be in that zone. And the last, you know, story I'll tell here, I'm sorry, I'm ranting. One of the things I did have to fight for on my first directing experience for TV, I experienced ageism a little bit. I definitely was by far the youngest in the room. And the way TV works is the director is the person that's new. Everybody's hired. Every crew member is hired. Actors are hired. Sets are built. But the new person, the new kid in school is the director. So, you know, it's a little like, oh, like this is exciting and really fucking scary because you don't know anybody.
Right.
And I did show up, and, you know, first meeting, it was a little hard to get some people to believe I'm their boss. You know, like this 29-year-old girl, you know, that loves to dress in flowers and has a, you know, Freddy Krueger hat. Like, who is this girl? So it took me a long time to get some people in that crew to really listen to me. I love that some were like, hell yeah, you go, girl, like right away. But there was times that I was like, I don't know how to get to people. And the hardest thing I experienced, it was only an 8-day shoot. TV shows shoot very fast. Mm-hmm. And the first half of the shoot, I could not convince the camera guy to listen to me. I just could not get to this guy. And it was as simple things as, hey man, could you please Dutch the camera? Dutching means just give it a little something. And he was just he wouldn't even make eye contact with me. And I was like, man, until halfway through the shoot, I'm like, okay, there's only 3 freaking days left. And I got hired to do this episode because there's a lot of deaths and cool stunts. And I wanted to bring a little essence to the show. And I went straight to his face and I just said, hey man, could you just please Dutch the camera, please? He put the camera down, looked right at me in the face and said, no. As simple as that, no. Why? You know, it was the first time that I really had to put my big girl shoes on and open the can of Mexicano whoop ass. I said, do you mind explaining why? And even my accent got harder. And when that happens, Raynor knows my voice goes lower. Mm-hmm. Do you mind explaining why? And he just straight up said, I've been in the show the whole season and not once have we done that. And that was all he said. And I said to him, okay, well, I came here for a reason and I got hired for a reason on this episode. So you're going to touch it because I'm your boss. You understand? Like, I could have said more. I could have made a bigger scene. I could have swore. I could have yelled. I could have done all these things. And I just kept it as simple as that. And I said, put the camera back on your shoulder. I went back to Video Village and I saw one of the producers or execs there. And I said, fire that guy now. And, now. And it was one of those situations. He didn't get fired. He just gave me an apology, but it really scared some people. I was very mad. And I feel, that was such a reality check that this probably still happens. It's still going to happen, unfortunately. And I hope women in that position stand their ground coming forward. And it's unfortunate, the last thing I'll say, it's unfortunate that we have to, the only thing I'm not happy with is that we still have to keep in mind how to defend ourselves, because it's very easy to be labeled as hard to work with and a bitch, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it is one of those things. I do realize I got to take a moment how to approach it, because I do have that card and I need to have people continue to work with me. So hopefully I can continue to encourage the change. And it really is a responsibility as a female filmmaker, as a minority, as a woman of color, all the beautiful flowers that I have to offer. My responsibility, and anybody listening in the same position, is if I don't get that job, I need to recommend 3 people like me that can have it. We need to keep having that door open for the next person.
Right.
And I still feel we don't do that enough, because there's room for all of us. And so that's something I always like to encourage and say, that if I can't do that one, I know who you should call. And it's 3 wonderful people who have,
I love that,
things to offer.
And there's more content more than ever being turned out. It's just like so many people should be working and they're still not. It's crazy.
I love that.
So sorry, that was a long thing to your answer. But
No, but that was
a lot of things that we go through.
Yeah. And that's kind of what I wanted to get to, because I know that, us as women have to, the way that you said, I was, the way you spoke to him, in your mind, you were thinking about, okay, I can't be a bitch. I can't be this, because then it changes the whole trajectory of the conversation. And it's no longer about what you're talking about the Dutch. It's about you.
Yeah.
So it's like hard, and you are young. I'm older than you, and I'm so excited just to see where you're at in 5 years, in 10 years, both of you. Like I love you guys. Like I'm like a big fangirl. I'm a fangirl.
Well, let me tell you, definitely when he turned around and said no. Remember the movie Kill Bill, when Uma Thurman, it all goes red and her eyes like,
yeah.
Like definitely that was my process as the camera zooming into my face. What is she?
Yeah.
I've seen Gigi do it.
Yeah. When that switch comes in, ooh, honey.
Yeah, me too. It takes a lot for me to. I'm usually here, but you do not want to get me here, because then it's like, forget it.
Totally.
And it's tears and it's anger. It's like, it's all of it. And it's not good. That's not a good thing.
It's just, it's insane. Like, Gigi's experience. And she's told me this on that shoot, because I wasn't out there, but I was just like, that's bullshit. I'm like, you need to stand up, but like, play your cards right. So it's not like being this whole thing. But it's shitty that you have to, like you said, tread lightly. So you're still trying to get your point across, but you're still not trying to be kind of blacklisted, because in this day and age, and I grew up on a fishing boat, a commercial fishing boat, a long time when I was a kid, right? So I worked with like old ass grumpy fishermen that, hated life and everything and I was a greenhorn.
That's a tough job.
And it was treated like shit. When you paid your dues, but it was, again, it's a very man's job.
Sure.
I was always never like that. I never kind of grew up into that. My dad taught me to treat everybody with respect, right? So that's male, female, anybody. and that's how I always perceived it, is like even a lot of our crew is female, right? Like it's a very big it's more than 50-50 actually. But it's just, it's one of those things that I feel I don't see how guys still do that, but it's, you know, testosterone. Oh
no, our Selena fell.
That was a sign.
Bum bum over here.
But yeah, so it's just sad that it still happens, and it's still going to happen.
Yeah.
But you know,
but it's shifting.
It's shifting for sure.
We're shifting it. We're shifting it.
Exactly.
All right. What are you guys up to now? What's next? What do you want to do? Like, what's the big goal for you guys?
Our dream will always be El Gigante, the feature. We need a new villain.
Yes.
We need that Mexican luchador, lucha libre mask. Do we have one right here? No, we don't. That's okay. We have so many luchador masks. So
we
the
have
dream, we will always, oh yeah, Blue Demon, there he is. we will always work hard for getting that short film to be a feature, but we're excited because we're at that really nice time right now where we just finished Bingo Hell on Amazon
all the
Prime.
Promotions done.
All the promotion just finished. So it's really allowed for Luchagore and us as a team now to have so many opportunities. We're reading tons of scripts. We're meeting tons of new studios and new execs that now it's not really what we have next. We're deciding what is next ourselves.
Hey.
What is the right place? And, you know, we've been building at least 3-4 different packages, all from a feature film that we just finished packaging. We also finished packaging a podcast series because we have an incredible booth. And so and also another series that we're excited to now build original content and find the right home. And from
that's the goal.
That's the goal.
That's the goal.
So we, you know, nothing's set in stone, but we're at a really good place that a lot of doors have opened for us that we never thought we would get anyone to hear us, you know, some big places. And for me as a director, I've been pitching for, I can't say what, but I've been pitching for some really big stuff where I'm like, it's okay if you don't give it to me. My competitor, I'm his fan. So yeah, you can give it to, but it's really cool to be in that room now. And like you said, we are young artists, and it's exciting how soon we're now able to explore. And that's why we want to encourage, like right now, like Raynor said, now's the time to make the stories we want to tell because people are open to it. So that's our focus. Yeah.
Excellent.
That is just like, you know, for us, it's like developing and having ideas. It's always better to have multiple than one, but you know, focus on the ones that you really do strongly feel about and get them out in the world. I mean, we always face rejection and no's all the time. I mean, that's the way it is. You know, it really has to find another producer, a studio that is going to resonate with it. I think that's one of the biggest things. And again, selling yourself as the filmmaker is really where it comes into play a lot, because they want to invest in you too as well, right? The story could be amazing, but you as the filmmaker, the writer, they want to be like, oh my God, this person they know the shit and they really know what they want to do. They want to collaborate. They're good to collaborate. And just, you know, being very open to all that stuff is something that, you know, it takes time. It's still a struggle no matter what, you know, and we're still going for it. We're still, you know, trying to find what's next, and hopefully something's going to bite, you know, just throw those hooks in the water and you're going to eventually hit something, right? So
I just typed on the chat here because someone named Derez.
Oh, Bingo Hell.
That they loved Bingo Hell. We posted, I put it on my Instagram and Twitter on Luchagore. We actually shared the reaction video of my grandma and her sisters watching.
Oh my gosh.
Because the lead character is played by my grandma's favorite actress, Adriana Barraza, and she didn't know that I casted her to portray her. So my grandma's like, okay, I'm ready to watch your movie. Let's see what you did. And when the movie turned on, my grandma, like, and the way Adriana portrays my grandma is so legit that I couldn't help but film them. This was maybe 3 weeks ago that I posted it. it's the review I was looking for, and definitely was the greatest thing in the world. So if you guys can find it, it is an amazing video reaction, and they're yelling. These old little ladies in their 90s are like, kill him, kill, and they're like I was like, oh wow, like it's the best thing I've ever. It goes
awesome.
back to your very first question, the why. And so I hope you guys watch it. It is the coolest
It's funny,
thing.
yeah, because all my older aunts too, and, you know, they seem to gravitated towards, you know, the more than the younger audience in general. They're like, because they're like, oh, is this too scary? And then just watch it, and like, oh, yeah, I actually really like this. This is really good.
That was our goal with
yeah.
Bingo Hell. We were like, we need to make a horror movie for our grandparents. What does that look like? And I know a lot of genre fans that are younger, more the hardcores, weren't a big fan of the movie, and that's okay.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's been really cool to see
older people really enjoying it.
Like this movie, and it's been really cool to see very specific reviews that just raved about it and understood why the movie is like it is. Of course, we had, you know, constraints, COVID, low budget, you name it.
But a lot of cutbacks.
A lot of cutbacks, but it's been really cool to see those that got it. So hopefully you guys check that reaction video out. It's everything you can.
Did you say it's on your website?
It's it's on my Instagram. You'll see an old lady on the first few.
Just retweet it.
Yeah, I'll retweet it. Actually,
okay,
I'll retweet it with the ISA network.
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
Can't miss that.
I mean, she's got like a million other things with like her parents reacting to scary movies. It's pretty.
But
it's
this
pretty
one
funny.
wins.
That's awesome. That's like its own series.
Yes.
It should be its own series.
Yeah.
Okay, so final question. What is your advice to, we'll just go to screenwriters since we're the ISA. What's your advice in general or specifically to screenwriters in terms of writing the script? Is it character? Is it voice? What's your advice?
Gigi,
yeah, I mean, you definitely, as we were saying, one thing I teach my students all the time is you got to love your idea. You got to love your story. But for me, maybe it's been different for Raynor. I love falling in love with my characters. I gotta love my characters so much. I visually can hear them, and even if it's the villain or the meanest person or your hero, for me, my biggest advice is, do you love your characters? And that goes even as little as like how you introduce them. Do you introduce them through an environment, or do you introduce them through a situation? You know, you look at the Hobbit. He's introduced right away in this beautiful environment of the Shire. You get who he is. Sometimes even like characters like in The Revenant, you introduce them in appearance, in a situation. You know, so if you can understand how your characters are, who they are, to me, that's the first advice I like to give. And of course, try to think of the cool names, man. Look at Nurse Ratchet. What a great name. And Jim Carrey in The Truman Show. Truman. Just, to me, names are such a cool thing that even says everything.
Right.
So those are the two things I always like to give first. I don't know for you.
I have to say the same thing. Character, I mean, like your hero's journey, right? Like, it's like from the beginning to the very end of like where we see their arc go. I mean, like, it's if they're relatable to, you know, the average person, or it's universal. I mean, like, it's something that we all resonate with, is, you know, connection to them, right? Because we're watching their journey. So it's either we're feeling with them, we're empathetic, or we're angry at them, and we see this shift throughout their arc, throughout the feature, the short, or whatever you may be wanting to write. Is, are they relatable enough that, you know, we have a connection with them?
Yeah.
And sometimes, you know, I mean, like, that's like kind of the typical gold standard, but sometimes you can twist it a little bit, and I have fun with it too, right? But then you still kind of following this guidance of that journey. But I mean, yeah, that's for me is the journey, and then setting, right? Because everything else can take form around that, I find. I mean, everybody has their own path, path of chaos, I guess, and how you do it. Some like to work backwards, some like work forwards. I mean, like always says, have your beginning and have your end, and then kind of find out what's going to happen in the middle, right? They always say that. I mean, what's that? What's the original story map? I don't know if people know that one.
It's interesting you say the story map, because definitely the one question that we get asked in every studio or anybody you work with, and this is a great learning question. The one question that always gets asked is, what is your emotional core of the story? Is it as simple as, like, it should be answered in a few words. Father finding son. What is that emotional core that you can tell it in one sentence that everybody understands that emotion and that feeling. So if you can answer that, you're already on the right path. But that is the first question we get asked always.
What is the engine that drives your story?
Yeah, what's the engine or the emotional core of your story? That's it. The story could be as complicated as as Inception as you want, but the one core right in the middle that is keeping the thread together. That's the one question.
Like Bingo Hell, for instance, our character Lupita, her driving is all about family. Right. She ceased to realize that until it's too late. But it was like, that's kind of like her character arc throughout that, is that she has all these people around her that she sees as friends and community, but it's family. And she's stubborn, but she kind of eases off as her journey throughout goes, and she kind of realizes that she's losing her grasp on it. I think it's a short and sweet version of it, more or less, but that was something that we could all relate with, because I mean, my grandma was stubborn as hell, but she fought for a lot of things.
Aren't they?
And your grandma, BB's, I loved it to death, is a very stubborn but lovely woman, and she's so passionate though, right? And it was something that, like, that was a really cool thing, and Shane brought a lot of that too into it as well. So
excellent. Awesome. Thank you guys both so much. Next movie you make, I want you to come back. We're going to do a script to screen talk all about that movie, whatever it is.
Oh my God.
We're excited. Thank you guys so much for chatting. And again, this will be replayed on our site on the pro tips page. And I will send you guys both that link and all of that so you can share.
Oh, cool. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Love it so much. Thank you. This was so much fun. And it was really cool to kind of go back to some memories there of certain things. So we really appreciate it.
Excellent. Thank you both. I appreciate it so much. And talk to you soon.